Secretary of State Marco Rubio dukes it out with Senator Chris Van Hollen in a committee. President Trump announces a Golden Dome missile defense system for the United States and Canada, and the Supreme Court delivers back-to-back victories for the Trump administration. I'm Tony Kinnett, host of the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. In a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing yesterday morning, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland engaged in what could be described as a heated exchange, although mostly it was Senator Chris Van Hollen taking 7 minutes to lecture Marco Rubio about his disappointment over humanitarian assistance changes, deportations to El Salvador, revoking student visas, the ending of USAID, and after his 7 minutes of appointed time, he concluded by stating,
"I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back."
Secretary of State Rubio promptly responded, and then things got a little out of hand, by which I mean Senator Van Hollen began trying to speak to Secretary of State Rubio, and Rubio was given time by the chair for response.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't
Okay.
ask a
Senator,
question.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his
Your
response.
time's up, Senator, and woefully used, I might add.
Well-
Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman-
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose to
railing on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend,
time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to
Chairman,
see who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments
Senator,
like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the
Senator,
United States because
well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she
And if you
did?
do
Come
that-
on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single
You're
one of
just
these
blowing
cases, the
smoke
factors
here
are
now.
different.
Senator,
the bottom line is if you're
Senator,
coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you
Does
have
the
a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we'll
people
revoke
living
it.
in the United
And
States?
we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a
Writing
bunch
an
of
op-ed
lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can
That's
find more of these people.
pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke
I
it.
feel so much safer
All right,
when you lock
let's,
up people like Ms. Osterk, Mr. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much. And
Yesterday, President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced a Golden Dome missile defense system for the United States, similar to the Iron Dome missile and air defense system used by Israel, which has shot down over 5,000 rockets at a 90% success rate. The President of the United States also suggested that Canada would take part in the missile and air defense package, harkening back to the desires of the Ronald Reagan administrations to construct the Star Wars space and missile defense system. Check it out.
I am pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful, and now we have technology that's even far advanced from that. But including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles, all of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland, and the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air. I'm also pleased to report that the One Big Beautiful Bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have probably, you're talking about, General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed.
And the Supreme Court has delivered back-to-back victories for the Trump administration. On May 19th, the Supreme Court ruled 8-1, with only Katangi Brown Jackson dissenting, to overturn a lower court order that blocked the Trump administration previously from revoking the temporary protected status of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan nationals who were given this temporary protected status in most part by the Biden administration. And yesterday, the Supreme Court voted 7-2 in favor of Maine State Representative Laurel Libby after Maine State Democrats stripped her of her voting and speaking privileges for speaking out against men in women's sports. We've previously had Representative Laurel Libby on the show, but perhaps most notably, Katangi Brown Jackson, again dissenting, seemed to argue that the federal government had no right to overturn a policy at the state level which infringed on an individual's constitutionally recognized rights. Quote, "Whether the House's censure and resulting sanction violate Libby's constitutional rights or those of her constituents raises many difficult questions. What are the limits on a state legislature's ability to bind its members to ethics rules? Do federal courts have the authority to determine that those rules are improper?" To answer a disturbingly basic civics question, yes, one of the primary functions of a higher court at the federal governing level is to rule when a state or local government's laws violate the constitutional rights of its citizens. To pick one example out of thousands, if there was a state or local government that came up with a separate set of rules for individuals of a certain color so that there were classes of citizens in that state, the federal government can and has ruled that those particular policies are unconstitutional, whether or not they were passed in measure by a state or local legislative body. One would hope that a Supreme Court justice would be aware of the entire reason for the existence of the Supreme Court of the United States. Before you go, head down to the description and make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kinnett Cast. And join us this evening for an interview with Representative John James of Michigan, as well as the day's fire hose of news. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Take care.